I know. Isn't she so cute?
So fun. So fun.
Oh my gosh. I swore I would never be like a puppy owner. And then I had 2 little girls and I was like,
I need a puppy.
Yes. But
You held out for a while.
But I'm telling you, this is what I know. I know enough to know that this whole puppy ownership thing is no joke, man. I mean, you
got potty training, you got learning to play with toys.
How do you train them not to chew your stuff? How do you, the one thing that was so interesting to me. So here is what I strongly recommend. When you decide on a breeder, go hire Irene Miranda. I will actually put her information in the comments because she is an expert dog trainer, but her passion is puppies and really puppy families, because so many of them get overwhelmed and then they end up what do they call, basically giving them away or putting them in a shelter. It just creates this perpetual chain of fearful dogs that then bite people. And I didn't realize that a fearful dog is a biting dog. So I all about how then do you introduce them to environments without freaking them out. And Shane, it's very similar to the training we went through for international adoption.
How about that?
Like it was 4 months before Penny ever left a certain area of the house. I mean, it's just very slow. We haven't even taken her to the groomer yet. As you could probably tell, we've been cutting her with Presley's kid scissors and washing her in our seat, and even that she really still can't see, but she's so, it's just really the process is very involved. Like, please do not get your kids a puppy and think, oh, it's going to be so fun.
It's going to be hard.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
It's going to be work.
Yeah.
It's going to be some work.
So happy New Year, Shane.
Happy New Year, 2023.
I know. And I feel like it's been like a hot minute because of the holidays. This is the first year that I was like, I'm going to shut down for 2 weeks. Like, I'm not going to do anything. And you really kind of did the same thing. You stepped away for a while.
I did. Yep. Which is great.
Yeah. And how do you feel? How do you feel after that slow down?
Refreshed, focused, energized, ready to go. Yeah.
Clear.
That's a good word.
I feel very clear on what this year, where I need to be focusing. And, when we were coming back together, I think the one thing that I keep coming up against, and I don't know if you're having this experience with your clients that you're talking to, but I'm realizing that, when a leader or an owner or an entrepreneur is scattered, like they maybe on the surface, things look really good, but then when you dive below them and you start to evaluate or hear what's happening day to day or what's not happening consistently, there is there's something that they all have in common, and it truly is disorderly environments. And I don't mean like they're messy or they're hoarders. I don't mean like that. I mean that their behavior is clearly influenced by their surroundings. And most of the time it's the surroundings of business activity. Have you seen that?
Yeah. In other words, we see this a lot when we see people with shiny object syndrome. The environment that's created actually produces that pursuit at times. So I think that's a big way that it reveals itself. So if you're watching us and listening to us and you're wondering, do I have disorder? Do I have chaos? Do you chase the next great thing? Is a fair question to evaluate yourself against in light of what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Well, it caused me to really ask this question: is a disorderly environment responsible for disorderly conduct? And I like to research. I really don't like to make decisions or answer these questions from feeling. I want to know, like, what does science say? So as I started to dig, I realized that, look, as I said earlier, like our behavior is clearly influenced by our surroundings. I mean, just think about it. Most of us would act differently in a church versus a nightclub.
Totally.
Right. Okay. Now, the reality is those are two big extremes, but there is new research, Shane, and you know, I like that R word, new research that shows very subtle differences can have a significant behavioral impact. So, do you remember decades ago, there was a theory called the broken window theory?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about? Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was based on this observation of an old industrial building that if a broken window wasn't repaired promptly, the unfixed window seemed to invite troublemakers to break the rest of the windows. Right. Okay. Well, this theory was exactly that. The basis for Rudy Giuliani's successful effort to cut crime in New York City. So he literally began by cracking down on minor violations like people that would jump the subways turnstiles,
Remember
right?
that?
Yep. Or people that harassed the squeegee men, you know, or the squeegee men that would harass people driving by or walking by. Okay. So the
graffiti on the subways. I mean,
exactly.
every night, every train repainted.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Every night, every train that had graffiti repainted.
Wow.
Rail. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know, I lived there as that whole era, like those leaders and stuff had been slowly leaving. And it was interesting because the city was very peaceful. Like I didn't walk by construction workers or squeegee and have any, not that I would, but you know, there, no harassment or conversation unless I asked them a question, you know. But this theory really was questioned by a lot of people. It was in a lot of people were like, look, this is more anecdotal than it is research based. But the researcher said, okay, well, let's get more evidence here. So what they found is that broken windows are just one example of how behavior is affected by the degree of disorder in a surrounding area or in an environment. So in the Netherlands, they empirically demonstrated a phenomenon. So observed by these policymakers and law enforcement officials for years. This is what they did. They took an envelope visibly containing €5 notes. So, you know, money that was left hanging out of a mailbox on a sidewalk. 13% of the people that passed by took it. When the same mailbox was covered in graffiti, Shane, that number doubled. 27% took the envelope. And then when the graffiti was not only a misdemeanor, right? That it really was not the only misdemeanor in the mix. They added another one, which was litter at the bottom of the mailbox. So now what it's doing, what they observed was it was fostering like this cavalier attitude toward theft.
Yeah. Like, hey, nobody cares about this money. I mean, just look, mailbox is trashy, ground is trash. Nobody cares about this money. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened is for years, 25% of the people that passed by this graffiti covered mailbox with litter at the bottom just kept taking the money. And this is, I know, and this is really significant results for both social and statistical reasons, because here is the reality, is that in my observations and in my own research over 2 decades, what I have found is that profitable owners, meaning they can actually write themselves a paycheck every month, okay? Like a real paycheck, not like $1,500. I'm talking about like a real paycheck, $3, $6, $9, $10, $12, $15,000 paycheck. And that's what a profitable owner is. And they have money to acquire new clients. Okay. So if you do not have money to go and buy leads and actually go through the process, which is expensive, of getting a new client via paid options, your business is not profitable. You are still at startup stage.
Mhm.
I am your friend, and I am here, and I care enough to tell you that, because no one told me that for a long time. And it wasn't until a very successful man dropped that into me, and I have tested it almost 2 decades and realized he is exactly right. When I don't have money, that's what I stop doing first. I stop paying for leads coming in, and I start doing something else.
That's good.
So,
Yep.
right, you will find that a disorderly environment, okay, in the owner's world looks like this: flashy studio equipment. Like, you've just spent money on stuff that makes no sense.
Mhm.
And why doesn't it make sense? Because most of these owners cannot tell me what their return on investment is from doing video. Okay, so if we don't know what the ROI is, why have we invested in the equipment? And why are we doing it, right? Or their tech stack is through the roof. I mean, they've got everything that a digital marketer or an ad has brought across their feed. They've bought the tech. So they might have, communications tech and email automation tech and CRM tech and funnel tech and 2 or 3 of all of these things, right? All the apps for social media, because this app does one thing and this app does that, right? And they oftentimes operate solely on referrals. Most of the time, that's what they fall back on.
This reminds me of what you were talking about at the beginning. There are some people who have a public persona of success.
Yeah.
However we choose to define that, because I've, as you described, that person who has all that stuff, if I didn't know what you've taught me, I would look and say, man, that person has got it going on. I mean, they got this and they got that, and it's all their, and they look like a NASA shuttle launch person when they get in there and they start doing stuff, and you're like, wow.
Right.
You ask them, how's it going? You making any money? Well, I mean, I got a side gig over here and I got another deal over there, and I'm kind of in between jobs on another thing, but this is going to work. It's just, it's interesting. What you see is not always the full picture.
No. And that is really what this research, I think, proves at a deeper level, is that what you see is oftentimes you don't know what is behind that. Just like, someone that is running ads on social media, you don't know what's happening behind that ad to help people make the decision to buy.
Yeah.
And so it's not just about like boosting ads, which is one of the worst things you can do. So don't even get me started on that, but one day we will talk about it.
I'm laughing at myself because I'm like, yeah, I did that too.
Right. Okay. And
all my lunch money over there boosting stuff.
Full disclosure. I mean, the reason why you and I can speak to these things is because we've done them. We have failed, and that's really what people pay us for, is let me learn from your failure. So I don't fail like that, So it's interesting, Shane, because there is a part of my process, and there's even a part of your process that says, hey, we got to like slow down, right? Before things are going to accelerate. Now, I have visibly noticed this, and you might even be able to speak to this because I can still remember those early conversations, and I could feel your anxiety through the phone. And so I would have to go outside and pace to talk to you because I was like, I cannot take on his fear and his anxiety, right?
So embarrassing.
Well, where do you think that fear came from? Like when I would say to you, Shane, we're going to slow down, and then I'm telling you things will accelerate. Like when you first heard that, what was some of the first, if you can even recall? I don't know. It's been so long.
I'll speak to it on 2 fronts. I'll speak to the anxiety and the fear part, because I do think that unmanaged fear is a catalyst for chaos. Unmanaged fear is a catalyst for chaos. So when I was looking, I would create these scenarios in my mind. If I don't sell this much by this point in time, then this is going to happen. Well, then I would just be obsessed with that outcome that I was creating. It was not based on anything other than my imagination. That fueled a lot of it. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was not patient. So I was like, come on, Amy, hurry. And, So the more that I tried to hurry, you know, the worse that anxiety would get, because I felt like I was running up against resistance, which I was, but it was the right resistance. And that's the thing, when we talk about slowing down, this idea of, you know, slowing down in the midst of all that fear, the slowing down isn't stopping, but it is working within the natural order of a process that produces the outcome that we're after. So for me, I didn't want to slow down.
Yeah, hold on. Just you just said something, working within the natural order of a process that will deliver
the outcome you're after.
The outcome we're after.
Yes.
Wow.
So think about that.
Wow.
There's a natural order to a process that produces outcomes. I mean, we see this in everything. Look at manufacturing. Yep. You know, so there's a natural order to a process that produces an outcome. Look at Chick-fil-A. There's a natural order to a process that produces an outcome. When you go against that natural order of the process, the outcome doesn't deliver.
Yeah.
So for us, we have to define that natural order of a process. But oftentimes when we need it the most is when we are the most chaotic. So we have to have somebody outside like you to come in and hold the stop sign up. And that's the beauty of the pacing. It's the stop sign that allows the natural order of the process to start reveal. I know I'm getting a little bit deep there with that.
No, it's but so good.
You know, for me, I did not want to slow down. Like I wanted it right now, because I believed that if I didn't have it right now, everything would fall apart. Yeah.
And that's the truth, Ruth, right there.
If I don't have it right now, everything is going to fall apart. That was the belief.
Yeah, because there really is these fears that follow us around. And that is one of them, that I'm going to lose it all. If I slow down, I'm going to lose it all. Or if I slow down and something happens to me, I've done nothing to set my legacy up and my family up for success. Right. Yeah. Or what if I get sick and I can't work? I can't do that. You know, like there's these real fears. Or what if someone leaves me if I don't get this done in a certain period of time? What if I lose love? Because, and these are real fears. And slowing down, when you say, following the natural order of a process, this is the absolute foundation of everything that I'm trying to help owners grab onto. Because once you understand the natural order of certain processes that drive physical systems of technology, you will have no problem getting what you want. You can go to any system of technology with an algorithm-based information system and utilize it.
Yep.
But we have to first understand, we have to go all the way back and understand the natural order of certain processes. And you touched on manufacturing and Chick-fil-A. I will go as simple even as nature.
Yep.
There is a natural order to the process of night and day. Night and day, night and day. There's a natural order to the process of seasons. There's a reason that things need to die so that something new can come. Like the creator of the universe, God himself, set things up in a very specific process so that we would have a very specific experience here on earth, like not dying from environmental crude. If the plants don't die and then new life comes from them, or being burned up by the sun, you know, there is these things that are in place so that we can live in a very specific way here on earth. So our bodies, he also designed in a specific way, specifically our brain, which anything that you're using that is algorithm based, they are studying the human brain. They're trying to get as close to the ideal human brain as possible so that in essence, humans can be moved away and we can get more predictable results from technology. I mean, that's what the humans' desire is, right? And then they'll make a gazillion dollars and rule the world. All right. Yeah. So the reality is that when we understand the system of the brain and the process that makes it learn, and we understand how to create an environment, a physical environment based on that learning, we can then command pretty much any system of technology. So I want you to understand that this essential of slowing down externally and in business comes from the neuroscience essential of neuroplasticity, which says there's 9 essentials that these scientists have found. Specifically, Michael Mersnick, you can look him up, but there's a school of thought that, look, if you will slow down and let the brain learn something new, it will accelerate faster than you could push it. Make sense?
It does. Yep.
Okay. So what we're talking about is if an owner wants to get predictable results, like legit write themselves a paycheck every single month while using technology to help them do marketing, help them do conversions, and help them give the people that are buying their work proximity to them without human effort, right? We are going to have to understand that slowing down is always going to be a part of this. And so neuroplasticity has proven that. I mean, I have seen this phenomenon in my own daughter, in my own life, and in my own business. So algorithms operate best when they have already figured out what you want and what the person you're working with wants. Fast happens when the brain already knows how to do things. Okay. Just like an algorithm, you get faster results, the more information it gets to get you what you want. It's as simple as that. It sounds so simple, but the process, understanding the steps to that process to get your desired outcome of a predictable paycheck and consistent results and predictable acquisitions must be understood. That you can't just go to an algorithm, for instance, and throw $1,000 at it. That would be going at it fast. The reason why, it will literally implode on itself and shut down. It will spin out of control. But if you start to throw $50 a day at it, $80 a day at it, tell it what to stop doing, tell it what to start doing, that's what gets the algorithm's attention. And that's exactly what gets the brain's attention, is when we slow down. And listen, the brain's job, this is its job, is to make order from disorder and sense from nonsense. The exact same job of an algorithm, because when it starts, it's crazy. There is no rhyme or reason to these people that are responding to your call to action, right? And it also must be guided. So if you yourself are grabbing every new tech tool, you're trying lots and lots of different things, you yourself don't know what to tell it, therefore creating more disorder and never actually having an orderly, predictable outcome. Does that make sense, Shane?
It does. Yep. And I think, part of this, Amy, is, so I'm just putting myself back in the moments where we first started working together. So as I heard what you were saying then, I was really confused because I had no context for what you were talking about, right? I just had all of the chaos. And this is where I had to wake up and realize I was perfectly designed to get the results I was currently getting. And I didn't like the results I was getting. So if I was going to get a different outcome, something had to change. And I had to evaluate you and your results to say, do I want to follow? Because something had to change. So if you're listening and you're like, okay, I don't get all of that, whether it's Amy or not, if you choose to move towards someone to mentor you, because that is what it's going to take. You're not going to be able to just listen to this and get it. You're going to have to come under the direction and guidance of a mentor to be able to help you learn and grow and change. Make sure it's a trustworthy mentor. Make sure it's somebody who's actually doing what it is that they're asking you to do. Make sure they've actually gotten the results that you want to get, because if you cannot take people where you have never been before. So find a mentor who's been where you want to go and lock arms with them and follow their guidance. So for me, Amy, you were that person. I believed because of what I had seen you do and because you were working the process. You still work the process. We both work the process every single day.
Every day, 6 days a week.
That's it. And so if you're waking up to the idea that you're perfectly designed to get the results you're currently getting and something's got to change, don't go try something else. Find Amy. Find your Amy. Get into a place where you have someone with expertise that will take you where you want to go, and submit to their leadership, their mentorship. Don't fight. Like that was another thing that I wanted to do, Amy. I wanted to fight the idea that I had to slow down.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that you put the resistance in, like, no, this is the way.
Yeah.
This is the way. Yeah.
Well, and let me be real clear on what slowing down is not. It is not stop making money to do a new process. So if somebody says to you, you have to stop this in order for this to work, run for the hills, because they actually don't know how to integrate new work and new behaviors with old work and old behaviors. And if you are a responsible human and that old work is paying the bills, it's just not producing enough money for all the other things, you must stay in that work. It is irresponsible to stop and then try to do something new and have no income coming in. I mean,
don't leave your job. Don't leave your job.
Don't leave your job. Don't leave your job, and don't stop making money somewhere to pay the bills while you are creating new environments, both in your brain, in your body, and in your work. And while you're learning how to really get predictable results. Okay. So here is what it is not. It is not stopping making money to come over here to some magic machine that's going to pump out $1 million in 6 months, because that is not real. Okay. No. There is no funnel that is going to make you a lot of money or get you a lot of people. If you don't have the capital, both human capital time and capital money, to put people into systems of technology so that they can then buy your stuff, technology really is not going to work for you. You're going to have to stay in an organic phase long enough to get some money going. Organic, you cannot scale. I'm going to tell you that, but you also cannot scale without organic.
Right.
Okay.
That's a big statement.
That's a big statement. Organic you cannot scale organic, but you cannot scale without organic. And I am a firm believer that the best marriage in business is technology and human organic effort. All right. So in my work and in the work I did with Shane and in the work that we do together when we're helping someone get past the start line and actually get moving, is the very first thing we say is, hey, you keep working, but while you're working, we're going to start on some research. Okay. And this research is going to help you understand the people you want to buy your stuff at a much deeper level. So we're not doing demographic studies and then moving on from there. We're diving deeper into something called psychographics. And these psychographics are what help an algorithm optimize fast and help drive down the cost per lead, help drive down the cost per new client, and help increase your ROI. Without that, nothing matters. You can have the most beautiful video courses. You can be on some of the most, awesome stages. You can have apps, but because of the way society has, brought so much content into their lives in 3 days, if you have not created a process that keeps you in front of them when you leave the stage or when they leave your video, they're like, who, what day is it? Oh, look, there's someone new.
That's right.
That got my attention. Yep. Okay. So it really doesn't matter. The reason why celebrities stay stuck in your mind is because they're everywhere. Do you know how much money it takes to keep someone everywhere all the time?
Oh boy.
All right. We know the numbers.
Yes.
And it's very expensive.
Very
expensive. And it creates, you have to have a lot of people and you have to have big teams. And now you don't have to start there. I mean, me and a robot got over $500,000 in revenue. I mean, it wasn't me and a robot and something else. It was just,
whatever. Yeah.
But because I understood the steps in a process that was going to get me a specific outcome, I just kept doing that. I wasn't distracted by all these pretty things that were telling me I can get you 500 leads in 30 days, or I can get you 50 qualified leads in 15 days. That is not real, because if you don't have my information from my research, you can't get me anything.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
So that is how
you really don't know how to think. Is really
that's
what
right.
we're saying. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So now, and we don't slow down our income. We slow down what we're focusing on.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing we focus on is, who do we want to serve more? That's it. We turn our attention externally to the people that we want to serve. Then we turn our attention internally to the business, look at a set of numbers and say, now we're going to go test what we've just learned from these external people. And we're going to measure that learning while we're still working. So technically, I'm here to tell you, if you actually want to slow down to go faster, and you're a responsible human and you have bills to pay and you're responsible to pay those bills, you're going to be doing a lot more work for a while before you can start letting go of external income lanes, right? So before you leave your job, you need to be able to replace your business needs to be able to pay your paycheck for 90 days. Okay. Before you let go of this offer and create a new offer, this new offer needs to be paying the bills for 90 days. Like it's irresponsible. And why do I know that? Because I did the exact same thing. I just quit my job, started a business, almost lost it all. Okay. Like very quickly. So, and I knew the steps in the process. What I didn't know was all of the deeper, more expensive, more valuable steps that me and the prospects had to take in order for that conversion and the money to come in. So now that I know that, I'm here to tell you, whatever you do, do not jump ship before you have replaced that money. And here is one thing. And Shane, you and I, are you still using the same money management system I am?
I'm using the every dollar system. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I'm using Profit First. Okay. So I got my report every quarter. I get my report from the CPA, and I watched my profit category literally snowball. I mean, the money to pay the IRS is sitting in my account. There is when you asked that question,
I was thinking budget. Not money management system, but yes, Profit First.
You're still
same experience. I'm not kidding. I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, I think, is this right? Like, is this really happening?
It's like, I'm watching it month after month. And I'm paying myself 50%. The first money is 5% to Profit, 50% to me, and then the other percentages that he recommends. So I'm here to tell you that the very first thing you need to do to bring order to your disorderly environment, both in your head and in your body and in your business, is you've got to have a money management system. Because I'm telling you, if there is order and chaos, you really do not know where your money is. You really don't know how much you're spending. You cannot tell me you know how much money you're spending and where you're spending it, and you have chaos.
Nope, mutually exclusive.
Yeah. And again, I know that from personal experience. Like, oh yeah, I mean, I know. No, actually, I don't know, because I don't really know anything. I'm just surviving. My head is just barely above water.
That's right.
And to look down and look at numbers only creates anxiety. So I'm just not going to do it until there's enough money in the bank that I can slow down and look at it. Not going to happen.
Right.
So the very first thing that I would recommend, and Shane, I'd be eager to know what is one thing that you would tell people. But the one thing I'm telling people is you need a money management system that is easy for you to manage and that you see results quickly. And that's Profit First. For me, it's Profit First. And I had a really great budget for almost 2 decades. Loved it. Complicated and hard to execute by myself. This so simple, so simple. What is one thing that you would tell the audience to do to begin to create order from disorder?
I would say plan your week and manage your days. Here's what I mean. So most of us, when we're in the chaos, The day is directing us. This pops up, that pops up, this pops up, that pops up. And the first step that you could consider to rein that in is to plan your week. Define what you really want, place that into your calendar, and manage those commitments that you make to yourself. Get good at making and keeping commitments to yourself, and that'll bring some order to the chaos.
Well said. Well said. So plan your weeks and manage your days. Is that what you said?
Manage your days.
Yep. And go and get Profit First. Get the book, download the Audible tape. And if you have questions, I mean, there are some things that I follow the formula religiously. But there are some things that I have not yet adopted in that money management system, like a manager of the system. I'm the manager of the system. Now I have a CPA and a bookkeeper that are making sure that my checks and balances are all right. But I'm the one managing the Profit First system. Okay. Because I wanted to wrap my head around it. I wanted to do it for a while and see the results, see how it really worked before I began to outsource to a Profit First bookkeeper or CPA. Now, there's lots of them and they're very good. And I have friends that use Profit First CPA. So there's some variables that you can use, but you cannot vary the percentages.
That's right.
Stick to what he says. And then plan your weeks and manage your days. And I guarantee you will be on your way to being a human that can manage systems so that the systems can run your business and actually return on the investment every time they're running. Because that's their job. Their job is not to spiral out of control and be weird and chaotic. Their job is to get you a specific result, but you have to be the human that can tell it how to go get the result. So I hope that you guys have a great week. We're going to dive in deeper on this idea of slowing down in more practicality next week. So join us. We'll be here next week at 12:30. We're a little early today, but next week it'll be 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see you there. Bye, Shane.
Bye-bye. See you.
I'm going to stop this live stream now.